influx of asylum seekers, New York City is opening more shelters in Floyd Bennett Field in Brooklyn. CBS News' Natalie Duttridge took a tour of the new facility. She also spoke to elected officials.
Yeah, we are about to take a tour inside these brand new shelters. We want to give you a look here. There are 7 climate-controlled tents that have recently just been built. They stand on this repurposed land that was once a former naval air station. This is what elected officials are telling us right now, that these shelters will soon house 500 migrant families, many of them with children. What they describe the setup as is partitioned cubicles to give some sense of privacy. There will be a tent here that will serve as the cafeteria as well as a health screening center. There will be security here 24/7. Officials do say that families will have to walk outdoors to use the bathroom. So obviously there's concerns here about the winter elements coming in the next several weeks and months. Some local leaders have expressed concern over this facility being built in what they call a flood zone. They're also concerned about fire safety. Here's what some officials had to say.
The report from the FDNY that was shared through the media that I got was extremely concerning, especially since the nearest fire hydrant to this HERC facility that will house 500 families at a minimum is 3,000 feet away.
It is correct to say that we are rapidly running out of room, and this is not a sustainable pace for New York City. But the blame for that should really go, in my opinion, to the White House.
And again, officials tell us migrant families are expected to begin moving in the coming days, and we'll have the full story coming up at 5 p.m. At Floyd Bennett Field in Brooklyn, Natalie Duttridge, CBS.
You may recall last week we first told you about 7-year-old Kamari Hughes, hit while on his scooter as he tried to cross the street. An NYPD tow truck driver making a right turn onto North Portland Avenue hit Kamari and ran over his body. Neighbors say the driver kept going until they flagged her down. The senseless death of a child shook this entire Fort Greene community to its core. Last week, Pix 11 News spoke with Kamari's mother, but she did not want her face on camera. Today, she is sitting down with us, speaking out about the pain she's going through as she plans her son's funeral.
October 26th was the worst day of my life. January 26, 2016 was the best. But now we are here in preparation of his celebration. I am trying to find the words to write Kamari's obituary. And I don't know what to say. I don't know how to encompass all of this into paragraphs. Every day I have to see him get ran over. And what I want to emphasize with the running over thing, right? He got hit first, knocked down off the scooter, and then the 2 tires ran over him. And then the next 2 tires ran over him. And then the next tire ran over him. And then the next tire. He was ran over by 6 tires in a matter of seconds.
Secured youth detention facility after 2 juveniles overpowered a guard and stole an ID badge, allowing them to open cell doors and release more than 20 detainees. News 4's Mark Seagraves broke the story on social media this afternoon. Now he has an exclusive interview with D.C. City Administrator.
It happened yesterday evening inside the youth detention facility here in Northeast Washington. According to a police report and the district's city administrator, more than 20 juveniles were able to get out of their cells and attack several guards.
I understand it was both girls and boys that were involved in the melee.
According to this police report, 2 juvenile detainees attacked a guard, and while one restrained the guard, the other stole her ID badge, which allowed them to open cell doors and release other detainees. Kevin Donahue, the district city administrator, tells News 4 the preliminary investigation shows the juveniles wanted to fight other juveniles being detained in separate cell blocks.
So we ultimately had about 21 young people involved in a fight. We had about 5 or 6 staff members members who gained order to it with the help of MPD, gained order. About 5 of them were injured. 5 of the adults were injured.
No juveniles were able to escape the facility. Department of Youth and Rehabilitation Services staff who oversee the detainees are not armed. According to the police report, 5 juveniles were arrested and charged with robbery and assaulting police officers. At the youth detention facility in Northeast, Mark Seagraves, News 4.
A spokesperson for D.C.'s Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services tells News 4 they are reviewing their policies and procedures. We're told they're implementing measures to prevent this from happening again. Youth who are housed at the Mount Olivet Road facility are typically either awaiting trial or have not yet been sentenced.
Docked along the banks of the Bronx is a 5-story barge used by the Department of Corrections to house inmates awaiting trial. The floating jail, known as the Boat, was meant to be a temporary fix for the overcrowding of Rikers Island back in the 90s. 3 decades later, the 800-bed lockup is set to close this week. The majority of the remaining inmates are to be transferred back to Rikers Island.
It's good that the mayor, the city is moving forward with closing the Boat, but transfer people from the Boat to Rikers Island is not a good solution. And we need to make investments in communities and address the mental health crisis of half of the population that's on Rikers Island, because that transfer is just, shifting people from the frying pan into the fire.
The Boat has been seen as a symbol of New York City's failure to reform its method of pretrial detention. But recently, it's drawn attention for its victims. An inmate jumped from the Boat to his death in 2022. And a year before that, 24-year-old Stefan Kadu died after contracting a treatable form of meningitis while in custody.
He didn't go in there sick. The fact that they just didn't care. There's nothing really to say other than that they didn't care. And it wasn't their son, it wasn't their husband, it wasn't their child. So it's like, so what?
Kadu's mom blames the conditions on the Boat for her son's infection. She says a lack of oversight kept her son from getting medical care that would have prevented his death.
I know in my heart, in my soul, that if they would have continued to take him to those doctor's visits after July 12th, the ones that he needed, the ones that I clearly see that on the medical papers, it says that, like, he denied it. He can't deny that because he doesn't have access to you guys. They just didn't take him. They just didn't take him, and if they would have took him, they would have caught it.
The New York State Attorney General investigated Kadu's death, but said they could not confirm allegations of improper care. Once the closure of the Boat is complete, Kadu's mom is planning a trip to see where her son spent the final year of his life.
I am beyond pleased that that place is getting closed down, where my son lost his life in the most horrific, torturing way.
The city has declined to say what will happen to it. For now, the Boat will remain in the custody of the Department of Corrections. Joseph Frederick, The Associated Press, New York.
Suspects in a series of armed robberies around the district. Take a look. This happened last week along 4th Street Southeast. The suspects threatening the victim with a knife and demanding their AirPod, their phone, their shoes, and school supplies. Look how young they are. The victim refused and began to yell. One suspect pulled out a gun. They made off with the items and ran away. That's just the latest in teen violence causing chaos across D.C., a city under siege tonight. Fox 5's Jacqueline Matter has more on the response from local leaders.
Jim, people are calling the crime out of control, and teens seem to be at the center of many of these incidents. Now, city leaders are asking some of the same questions we've been asking as well. What will it take to stop it, and who's responsible? 2 teens now in custody after 10 separate carjackings across the district, 7 of them at gunpoint. It's just the latest in a string of carjackings plaguing D.C.
It's a hot mess.
Over the weekend, a young boy shot and killed in a botched carjacking on Saturday night along D Street Northwest. We've since learned the 13-year-old had several prior carjacking offenses. And a 15-year-old girl arrested last week for a carjacking and fatal crash on Brentwood Road was allowed to go home with an ankle monitor despite her priors for robbery and theft, according to the Washington Post. We're told she was allowed to go home because DYRS said there was no space for her. The carjackings happening just a day later.
What residents don't want is finger pointing amongst public safety officials who are charged with holding to account these individuals who commit these crimes.
But that's exactly what is happening. Local leaders now pointing fingers as to who's to blame. The mayor says judges are being too lenient with repeat offenders and kids need to be in secure detention centers. Youth rehab services say they don't have enough space. In fact, Fox 5 found that the agency has 88 beds, yet the facility currently has 94 juveniles in custody. Meanwhile, council members have their own questions.
Is that we need to be clear. Did the court misjudge, or did the prosecutor misjudge, or is it the DYRS is not functioning effectively? That's not clear.
And we need to figure out who and what agency is responsible and hold them accountable for the decisions that they're making.
Regardless of who's responsible, local leaders telling us that residents and visitors don't feel safe in the nation's capital.
No matter where your zip code is, should feel safe in their homes and in their communities. And right now, sadly, tragically, that isn't the case for many people in our city.
Now, council members tell us the mayor's office was supposed to release a new crime bill last week, but has yet to do so. Jim, Marina, back to you.
Tonight with more details, a new video just released after an attempted abduction and police chase. Kenneth?
Marina, we've just learned Joseph Daniel of Leesburg was arrested, accused of leading police on that chase through 2 counties. Let's get to that newly released police chopper video. It shows the suspect driving on the wrong side of the road in a black Hummer yesterday afternoon. Loudoun County Sheriff says deputies got a call about an abduction in progress in Ashburn, and the driver, Joseph Daniel, sped off with a woman inside that vehicle. The man jumped out at Chain Bridge and Flint Hill Road in Fairfax, and deputies say he tried to carjack several other vehicles. You see the dramatic takedown there by deputies. Just an incredible midday scene. They jump on top of him, and then they arrested him. And that is not all. Investigators say that black Hummer was stolen in March and had been repainted. We checked, and Daniel, who had an open warrant in Loudoun, has an extensive criminal record. Now he's facing several charges, including robbery, carjacking, felony hit and run, and a lot more. And more new details tonight about how this all started. Investigators say the woman inside that vehicle was first inside a Loudoun County bank, and employees saw visible injuries on her. When she got back into that Hummer, they called 911. An entire investigation is now underway after this incredible incident. Jim?
A Halloween event took place today at Rikers Island for incarcerated individuals and their families to spend time together.
In this News 12 exclusive, Marissa Marcelino tells us more about this effort to engage families while also keeping people out of jail.
When I see that smile on that face, I'm good to go.
Dressed in festive orange, Linda Pugh said it's a morale booster for her and her son to be able to share this quality time together. Today's Community Engagement Day at Rikers allowed select incarcerated individuals to visit and enjoy a meal with their families.
Our goal is to try to normalize, family connections as much as possible, and to try to bring a sense of normalcy and humanity into an environment that typically isn't quoted for being a place of humanity.
The Halloween party was just the 3rd extended visit for families since COVID. It was a reward for men behind bars in the George R. Vierno Center who had high participation in the jail's re-entry programming with DOC counseling staff.
They work on life skills, anger management, just things to, really set them up for their transition into the community to make sure that they're successful.
Family members clapped as detainees were given certificates for their dedication to the program. After, they enjoyed Halloween treats and emotional bonding time with their loved ones. While Pugh says she hopes her holiday reunion with her son isn't behind bars, she says no matter where he is, she'll always show up to give him love.
Just being here, seeing him, being with him, it's a blessing. It's a blessing, and we love it. We love being here with him. Unfortunately, not on this side, but we make the best of it.
The DOC says they plan to do more events to bring families together over the holidays for Thanksgiving and Christmas. On Rikers Island, Marissa Marcelino, News 12.